Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new to my channel, my name is Gwenlyn Jackby and I'm a writer, and today's video is going to be about how to self-edit your novel. Now that is difficult. I'm still through the process of that now, so you know, I think everyone's different when it comes to editing their books, but it just is a very long, grueling process. I think everyone can agree with me on that, unless you really love editing. If I spend too long editing, I feel like I'm just gonna my brain's gonna explode. So yeah, I thought I would share my tips on how I have edited my book. Well, I'm still editing now, but I can tell you guys what I've learned through my self-edit process, because obviously I'm going to be self-publishing my book, so this is going to be from a point of view of someone who's going to be self-publishing. So right, I've got a notebook, so don't mind me looking down. It's just that there's a lot of stuff I would like to say and I can't think of it all on the top of my head, so I've written it down, so don't mind me. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into the YouTube video. Alright, as a disclaimer first though, this is my own system of how I edit my book. Also, this is what works for me. So it may not work for everyone, but also self-editing doesn't mean that it cancels out getting a developmental editor. It doesn't mean that. I was thinking of not getting a developmental editor, but then I realised that I would definitely need one, because now that I've gone through so much already of my editing phases, I feel like developmental editors are very much needed. So yeah, that's just the disclaimer first. Just make sure that you do get a developmental editor afterwards. I know they're expensive, all editors are expensive, but for good reason, because they're reading a lot. You know, they're reading your work and they're giving you critiques, feedback. It's, it's going to be a bit pricey. Some of them, some editors are actually fairly priced. I found one that's really good. What was it? It was Let's Get Booked. You can find it on Instagram. Okay, so my first tip is don't edit while you are writing. That could be one of the worst things you can do when writing a book. I find that if you are going to be editing while writing your book, you are going to get lost into the world of editing. And you may feel like, oh, this scene really does not work. And you keep on going over and over that scene on non-stop, trying to fix it, when you don't need to do that. You're trying to write the book first. Writing the book, there's always going to be mistakes. Always going to be mistakes. My first book I've written, I can see plenty of mistakes, and I can see what I've actually improved on my second, my third book. I can see that I've definitely improved upon writing dialogue and also descriptions. I feel like I've done better in my second book than I did in my first book. But yeah, there are exceptions to when you actually can edit your book. I mean, my exceptions are when I am stuck on a scene. I feel like I can't move forward from my book because I feel like there's a problem in my book that I just can't get past. Now, sometimes when that happens, I feel like I need to take a break from writing, and yeah, usually when that happens, I brainstorm, or I just read through it again, and if I feel like I've fixed it somewhat, then I move on, and that's how I go about it. Though I have in the past taken long breaks from books. Like, I got the first 20,000 words in my second book. Felt like I couldn't move any more forward because I felt like I didn't know where the story was going. So it's like, you know what? let's not write any more of the second book yet, and let's take a break from the series. Maybe then I can come back with fresh eyes and write the rest of the book, which is what I did. I ended up editing the rest of my first book, and then going on reading through what I've done so far of my second book before carrying on again with writing. I don't really have a set way on how I write a book or how I go about writing a series. I find that it depends on the moment. So, like, for instance, I got stuck writing my second book. I just hit a brick wall. I like metaphorical. But like I felt like I couldn't move any more forward with the book. So I took a break from it and I ended up going on with a different project. It was my TV show project that I was working on at the time. So that's what I did. It was a lot more relaxing because there were a lot of research I had to do for it because it was a historical fiction TV show. But it was a TV script, and I find TV scripts you only have to concentrate mainly on the dialogue and the plot, obviously, of the show. But I find, you don't have to put in the extra details that you do in books to make people really immersed. Because with TV shows, you do have to have some descriptions, but you don't need to overly describe things. And that's the point of the director, You're the writer who is trying to lay out the story, and so that's basically, So I took a break from writing the series of books because I don't know, at the time the TV show seemed a lot more appealing at the time. So it's always good to take breaks. Nothing wrong with that. I've taken plenty of breaks. I mean, it has been, I think, 6 years of writing the series. I think it was 4 of the years were actually writing the first book. So yeah, but honestly, try not to edit while you are writing, unless you're one of those type of people who don't get sucked into editing. I find it takes a month or two to be able to go back to your book. Make sure you do take a month-long break or two. You come back with a clear mind and you can see things that you didn't see before. And I find that works really well. I have taken longer than a month or two because I ended up going from my book to the second book, writing the first 20,000 words. Then I ended up going back to my first book, editing, going through the first bit, and then I went through the first 20,000 words of my second book and edited, re-jogged my memory of what it was I was writing, and then I ended up finishing the book and then going on to my third book, which I read the first 50,000 words. Now I'm back to my first book and editing, and then I'm going to be editing my second book before I end up going back to my third. Now I know that sounds confusing, but honestly, I find that I go back and forth between my series. I find that I don't know, I know that people tend to usually write the book, then they end up publishing it eventually, and then they end up writing the second one, and that. I don't know, I found it easier being able to write the series and just keep on going back and editing and seeing if there's any changes that you could make throughout the plot. I don't know, I find that works for me better, and I haven't had the time to edit my books a whole lot because I had those school going on, and now I'm not in school. I have a lot of time on my hands to be able to edit, and that just, I find that a lot of things take over your lives and sometimes writing doesn't become as priority, sadly, but it's just a way of life, so. But honestly, make sure you do take a month or two break before going back to it. Usually when we say take a month or two break, usually with writers, we end up going on to a different project, or we end up outlining our second book and working on that. Let's be honest, when we mean take a month or two break, we mean take a month or two break from the book. It doesn't mean we're not going to stop working and bringing out things. I mean, I'm working on YouTube videos at the moment while I'm editing. I have lost the motivation at the moment to edit my book. I'm just hoping I can get at least chapter 1 done this week and chapter 2. I was hoping to get 4 chapters done this week. It's not going to happen. I feel like I've lost the motivation, so I'm trying to relax a bit, and hopefully if I've just taken a break, relax a bit, and actually maybe I might get my motivation back. If not, I'm just going to just try and get through as much as I can and hopefully gain my motivation, I hope, anyway. My third point is the first read through. Right. So, you know when you're going through you finished your book, and once you've taken a break, the first read through. Now, what I intend to do, I tend to print my manuscript out. This was my my manuscript I printed out. It's very messy. But basically, I know some people just bind theirs. I didn't have stuff to bind mine time, so we were stuck with printing out and a bullet clip being put on the end. So yeah. The reason why it looks so big, because I know it's 33,000 words, my first book, but basically it was just printed one-sided. We only have a printer who prints one-sided, unless you want to flip the page, and it just, who has time for that? But also, I find that if I have things I want to add or put notes, I put notes on the back, which is what I tend to do. But yeah, honestly, when you go through the first read through, it's just making sure that you understand your story. Also, it's just about getting rid of the mistakes that you've put on. So like words, spelling mistakes, grammar, whatever, that type of mistakes. That's the first read through I did. I literally just looked through mistakes that were there. And if anything I felt like didn't flow properly, then I would, if I could change it then, like I had the idea right in my head, then I would do it. If not, I would just highlight or like put a little star and be like, I need to look back at this later. So that's what I tend to do. So I find that reading on from a manuscript like this helps a lot more to see mistakes. Just, I don't know, it's just that seeing something in front of you is a lot easier than looking at the screen. I mean, you've been looking at the screen for how long now? Because you were writing the book. It's nice to change things up a bit. I find if I'm looking at a screen way too much, I'm going to get bored. And it's not the story's fault for getting bored. It's just, I'm looking at the screen way too much and I'm going to get way too many headaches. Because you're going to be looking at your book a lot at the editing stage, so change things up a bit. So I find it helped a lot more looking at it visually in front of me, and I can make notes on it. So once I did that, then I would go back and I would correct changes, and if there was anything else that I had missed there, I would correct them. Then I would go through it again and check if I had missed anything, which I most likely did, which I definitely did. I know I did. I would correct those. Now I think I'm on the fourth editing stage, fifth. I go back through so many times. At the moment, I've gone back through to my first chapter a lot. I don't want to go back through it too much more, but I've got the second part of my chapter uploaded on a Scribble file now, so I've been looking through that. But I'm done with the first part of my first chapter. I'm not going to look back at it now. I'm just going to look at the second part of my first chapter, and once that's done, I'm done. I'm basically what I've done though. Yeah, I'm actually on my fifth. What I've done is that I've read through my first part of my chapter myself, corrected things I thought I needed to correct again. Then I uploaded the Scribble file. Then I go through the critiquing phase, and I've refined it a few times. Now I'm done with that. Then I've read through the second part of my first chapter, and I have changed things I thought needed to be changed, and I've uploaded a scribble file, now I'm going through an editing phase. Hopefully not many, I'm hoping to just go through 1 or 2 times, that's it. Then I'm going to go on to my second chapter, and I am hoping that I only have to go through it 2 times. Honestly, I find that when you get to the stage where you've got beta readers or you're uploading it to Scribblefile or whatever, now is the time to trim sentences down, cut bits of information out that you don't need. I mean, you don't have to get rid of the information completely. I would say if you feel like it needs to be in the book but not at this very moment, cut it out, paste it into a notes document, keep it there, and when you feel like this, I can let this little bit of information put in, you can dot that paragraph that you've written, dot it out throughout your book when you feel like it's needed. Because I find I definitely have info dumped here and there, so I feel like I'm going to have to cut bits out, but I'm going to keep them, and I am going to bring them later on, because I found there was a bit that didn't necessarily need to be said at this moment in time. So, I don't know. But honestly, if you info dump something, don't get rid of it. I find a lot of the time what you've info dumped is something that you need to be putting throughout your book, but you just don't know how to dot it throughout your book for now. Another thing that I would like to add is I find it's a great time when you have beta readers to correct the things that you haven't explained properly and things that they are confused about, because there are going to be bits in your book where the reader's going to be confused, because it may make sense to you, but it may not make sense to the reader, because we can see the other parts, like we know the world inside and out. Like we know it inside out, our stories, and sometimes it's hard to convey it on the page. And so the readers can get confused at times. So it's an amazing time to try and make things a bit more coherent, add things in, delete things that are not necessary, slowing down the plot, and yeah. This links into what I've already said but number 4 is make sure your reader keeps reading. Now, as readers, we do info dump. I've done it. I think we've all done it. We struggle sometimes with info dumping. And like I've said before, keep it for later. But honestly, just make sure that you take those out, because it does slow down the plot, and sometimes it can make it hard for the readers to read your book because it slows down the plot. So if it does slow down your plot, get rid of it. You can dot it throughout your book later on, but if it's not needed in that very moment, then get rid of it. Sometimes it's hard to get rid of information from your book, because I don't know, it's like our books are very, like our books are very precious to us, and getting rid of anything from the book can be a bit of a bummer. So yeah, but honestly, just you have to be tough with your manuscript. If it doesn't work and you want to keep the information, then like I've said before, put it in a notes document, save it for later. You might actually be able to save bits of that information throughout your book later on. If not, it may be actually relevant in your next books, or maybe never, but it's just the part of editing. If it slows down your plot, then it's not worth keeping in your book. Yeah, that is all I've got to say. That is my process of editing. I'm still going through my editing now, so I may do an updated video later on, but this is how I have edited my book so far. Well, my book. I haven't really edited my other books yet, but this is how I've edited my first book so far, and I will definitely be doing a video on Scribblefile on my reviews. I think I might either do it in a week or 2, because I want to give it a month before I give a review on it, because I feel like a month is long enough to give a review on something. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, like the video, put a comment down below, turn the notification button on so you're notified for when, when my next video comes out. Also subscribe. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye.